The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Reading over what I've written so far, I see I have given the impression that the events of 3 nights several weeks apart were all that absorbed me. On the contrary, they were merely casual events in a crowded summer, and until much later, they absorbed me infinitely less than my personal affairs. Most of my time I worked in the early morning. The sun threw my shadow westward as I hurried down the white chasms of lower New York to the probity of trust. I knew the other clerks and young bond salesmen by first names and lunched them in dark, crowded restaurants in little pig sausages, mashes, potatoes, and coffee. I'd even had a short affair with a girl who lived in Jersey City and worked in the accounting department, but her brother began throwing mean looks in my direction. So when she went on her vacation in July, I let it blow quickly away. I took dinner usually at the Yale Club. For some reason, it was the gloomiest event of my day. And then I went upstairs to the library and studied investment and security for a conscientious hour. There were generally a few routers around, but they never came into the library, so it was a good place to work. After that, if the night was mellow, I strolled down the Madison Avenue past the old Murray Hill Hotel and over 33rd Street to the Pennsylvania Station. I began to like New York. The racy, adventurous feel of it at night, and the satisfaction that the constant flicker of men and women and machines gives the restless eye. I liked to walk up Fifth Avenue and pick out romantic women from the crowd and imagine that in a few minutes I was going to enter into their lives, and no one will ever know or disapprove. Sometimes in my mind I follow them to their apartments on the corners of hidden streets, and they turned and smiled back at me before they faded through a door into warm darkness. An enchanted metropolitan twilight. I felt a haunting loneliness sometimes, and felt it in others, poor young clerks who loitered in front of the windows waiting until it was time for a solitary restaurant dinner. Young clerks in the dusk, waiting the most poignant moments of night in life. Again and again at 8 o'clock, when the dark lanes of 40s were lined 5 deep with throbbing taxicabs. Bond for the theater district. I felt a sinking in my heart. Forms leaned together in the taxis as they waited. The voices sang, and there was laughter from unheard jokes, and lighted cigarettes made unintelligible circles inside. I'm imagining that too. Oh my god. Imagining that I, too, was hurrying towards Gaiety and sharing their intimate excitement, I wished them well. For a while, I lost sight of Jordan Baker, and then in midsummer, I found her again. At first, I was flattered to go places with her because she was a golf champion, and everyone knew her name. Then it was something more. I wasn't actually in love, but I felt a sort of tender curiosity. I bored the bored, haughty face that she turned the world concealed something most affections conceal something eventually, even though they don't in the beginning. And one day I found that it was when we were on a house party together in Warwick. She left a borrowed car out of the rain with the top down, and then lied about it. And suddenly I remembered the story about her and had eluded me that night at Daisy's. At her first big tournament, there was a row that nearly reached the newspapers. A suggestion that she moved her ball from a bet lie in semi-final round. The thing approached the proportions of a scandal, then died away. A caddy retracted his statement. And the honor, oh my god. And the only other witness admitted that he might have been mistaken. The incident and the name had remained together in my mind. Jordan Baker instinctively avoided clever, shrewd men, and now I saw that this was because she felt safer on a plane where any divergence and a divergence from a code would be thought impossible. She was incurably dishonest. She wasn't able to endure being at disadvantage, and given this unwillingness, I suppose she had begun dealing the subterfuges when she was very young in order to keep that cool, insolent smile turned to the world and yet satisfy the demands of her hard, jaunty body. I made no It made no difference to me. Dishonesty in a woman is a thing that you never blame deeply. I was casually sorry, and then I forgot. It was on that same house party that we had a curious conversation about driving car. It started because she passed so close to some workman that our fender flicked a button on one man's coat. "You're a rotten driver," I protested. "Either you ought to be more careful or you oughtn't to drive at all." "I'm careful." "No, you're not." "Well, other people are," she said lightly. "What's that got to do with it?" They'll keep out my way," she insisted. "It takes two to make an accident. Suppose you met somebody just as careless as yourself." "I hope I never will," she answered. "I hate careless people. That's why I like you." Her gray, sun-strained eyes stared straight ahead, but she had deliberately shifted our relations, and for a moment I thought I loved her, but I'm slow-thinking and full of interior rules that acts brakes on my desires. And I knew that first I had to get myself definitely out of that tangle back home. I'd been writing letters once a week and signing them "Love, Nick," and all that I could think of was how that when that certain girl played tennis, a faint mistake of perspiration appeared on her upper lip. Nevertheless, there was a vague understanding that had to be tactfully broken off because I was free. Everyone suspects himself for at least one of the cardinal virtues, and this is mine. I am one of the few honest people that I've ever known. Okay, so I finished chapter 4. Well, I finished chapter 3. I'm gonna start chapter 4 tomorrow, and it's quite long though. It's about like 11 or 12 pages. Yeah. Alright, so that's for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.